starting. How are you two doing tonight? I don't think that was actually English what I just said. I think
Did
I
you
just
say, how are you two doing tonight? Well, I'm not the one pregnant in this household, so it is just,
Well,
how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, how are you all doing?
Everybody's good. Bedtime itself wasn't quite a shit show tonight, but the lead up to bedtime was a bit of a shit show. You know, it's the way of kids tonight. They've done such a good streak of eating their dinner and being peaceful. We were due for I don't want to eat this. This looks slimy. My banana's slimy. I'm like, your banana's not slimy. You squished it into the fucking plate. Eat the fucking banana.
It's the same thing.
Jesus
it tastes
Christ.
the same. It tastes exactly the same.
And I'm like, you eat a brat, banana, and mac and cheese at least once a week. It's the same shit we serve you all the time. Well, this one is a chicken apple brat. Even if it has Gouda, I don't want it. Then fucking go hungry. Jesus Christ. I love my children more than anything in this world, but there are certain times I'm just like, I'd like to walk myself into the basement and beat it off the cement wall. Like, what are we doing? But it was a great weekend. Beautiful weather in Ohio today. And there's a drive to right field by Nick Castellanos.
Right.
It is gone. No. It's been beautiful
It is a
weather.
3-2 game. I may never be on the air again tonight after this.
Yeah, I did hit Elliot with a football today. I'm not going to lie, a small football. And not in a mean way, but he pegged his brother with a ball 3 times, a soft baseball, in the back. And so I threw the football at him. I was like, dude, what are we doing?
You're going to learn
Come on.
today.
Come on. He's 3. He doesn't have a chance to retaliate to you. It's not fair. Give him another year, he's going to whip your ass.
Yeah, just wait till he's bigger. Then you're gonna be.
He already outweighs Elliot. Owen is 56 pounds. Elliot's 45.
Oh boy.
And Owen is not far from being as tall as Elliot. So once he gets more coordinated, my older son is in for a very rude awakening.
Get that boy on a high protein and creatine diet.
No, right? Leah never knew I put creatine in his bottle. She pump, I dump some creatine, and I souped him up. Now, everything's good here. Weather's beautiful. We've been outside a ton. I actually got some true redness other than whatever that shit was that was just making my face flush for multiple months that still randomly happens. But I have true redness now from just being in the sun and not putting on sunscreen. Should probably do that, kids. But it's been fantastic. I think this week's going to be pretty good as well. I really am trying to go to the spring game on Saturday for Ohio State and take not only Elliot, but take Owen to his first spring game and obviously bring the wife along because I'm not taking a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old or 5-year-old and a 3-year-old to the spring game on my own. Sounds like a death sentence. But we are due for thunderstorms, so my ass will not be sitting in thunderstorms for a half of a spring game. So we'll see. Brian, outside of being excited for your Biddy League NHL playoffs, what are you? Oh, wait. You're not talking about your playoffs. You're talking about NHL playoffs.
Yeah, well, we do have our playoffs tomorrow.
Okay. Because I was like, you told me about your playoffs last week. So you have double the playoffs.
So we were losing 3-0 on Saturday. We came back to win in overtime. And we play the team tomorrow that whenever we play, there's always some sort of physical shenanigans that go on because they're a bunch of assholes. So I'm not looking forward to that. But if we do win that game, then it's a 3-game league championship. It's the best of 3 series for the league championship, and we would probably play a team that we haven't beaten in like 3 years. So we're not going to win the championship. But yes, I was talking about the NHL playoffs more specifically.
The Jackets won't be a part of that. Caveat. Anyways, do you guys tend to have about the same teams every time you play as this? Is there some new guys that come in and out, people who come back? Like, how does the assortment of teams happen every time?
I think 70 to 80% the same. Some kind of guys come in and out. We had a couple, I probably talked about this before on the show. We had a couple new guys who came in this year who are all really good. And when they play, we are good. When they don't play, we suck. And it's kind of 50-50 on if all the good guys play or not tomorrow. So,
where do you rank? Are you like in the middle?
Oh, no, I'm like, I'd say like bottom half for sure.
Okay, that's fair.
I go through spells. I am on a bad spell. Right? I played like shit the last 4 games. Just not great. No pucks. I have no puck skills.
So what do? Skate around like a figure
Pretty
skater?
much. It's basically like you ever hear the coaches who are yelling at like football players, like the guy's just out there running routes, but he's not getting open. It's like, you're out there doing cardio. That's pretty much what I do.
That's all right. Good for your heart.
Yeah.
50-year-old Ryan will thank you.
I just skate. as fast as I can and hope that the puck like comes to me or hits me or I get in the way of something and then see what happens. But yeah.
Cardio's cardio, baby.
But no, the fucking first round of the NHL playoffs always kills me because the NHL hates the Central Division, so all of those games are always like 9 Eastern starts at the earliest. So I'm not going to get any sleep. And the stupid NHL playoff format means Dallas is going to play Minnesota in the first round. It's like the second versus the fourth best team in the league, and they already played once last week where they all tried to kill each other. So it's just I'm just going to be pissed off the whole time watching it because I already hate Minnesota, and I always end up hating the team that they're playing by the end of the series. So it's just going to be, I'm going to be in such a foul mood watching these games.
Ryan is going to be a tired mofo.
Yeah. Well, and then
good thing we're only doing podcasts one time a week.
Well, you see too, and then when Dallas and Vegas both make it, that's two teams that I'm watching, and they always end up playing on alternating nights. So I just don't ever sleep because it's like, well, I'm staying up late this night, then the next night I'm staying up, then I'm staying up again late. Why just put them on the same night so I can just stay up late one night and then sleep.
NHL needs to do Ryan a favor. A multi-million-dollar industry needs to do Ryan a favor.
Yes, me personally, throw your boy a bone or something because I need sleep.
We have forgotten to do this in most previous episodes. So, because we were on the spring fling trick for a while, make sure you're following us on X so that you get notified when we go live. We post all the links to the shows the next morning of, as long as Clinton doesn't forget. And be sure to be following us on YouTube as well, because that will be our only platform we are live on now. We tried the X Premium. It did okay. We did not garner more followers just because we were a blue check mark versus not. So Clinton has decided to not invest any more money to Elon Musk at this point. So follow us on X, engage with us there. Instagram will get generating a little more once we have lots more information to be put out there or like clips for you guys to see. But off-season Instagram's not really a hit for college football. Ooh. So mostly stick to Twitter. Get some clips up on YouTube here and there, but our live full episodes will be available to you on YouTube. Just search ITP CFB in both X and YouTube, and you can find us, hit follow, and leave us a review.
Tonight, we are talking about the 5 best offenses in the Big Ten. I almost said that backwards.
So if you said 10, I'm effed because I only got 5.
I have stats for all 18, Clinton. I could probably formulate something here, but yes, the top 5 offenses in the Big Ten. Based on our own personal criteria, we did not collaborate on what we were utilizing here. So I'm interested to hear your methodology, Clinton. But as I kind of went through this today, I just pulled a bunch of like counting stats and more kind of specific per play statistics, looked at returning production to try to formulate a proprietary algorithm to help guide me on who the best offenses in the Big Ten are. So I can kind of get into that as we go through here. But what were you kind of looking at as you went through and ranking these, other than just picking names out of a hat?
I just picked names out of a hat. No, I'm just kidding.
Number 1 offense, Wisconsin.
So a lot of it, again, I did not formally think this just in my head, like looking at this, and this. Some of it's off my feel based on performance last year. And to get my feel, you go back, you read the stats, a lot of points per game, how you're doing in yardage per game. Sometimes I'm looking at your passing versus your rushing yards per game, kind of where you ranked in the Big Ten versus in the country. And then I was also looking at what you lost and obviously what you've got to fill to bring in to fill those voids and how much that impacts you. But also, to your point, of what you're bringing back. Mm-hmm. And I would say 4 of my 5 have a decent amount back, and I believe my top 3 have a lot back. So that kind of, if I like what you're bringing back based on your production from last year, you're going to be ranked pretty high in this top 5. And then we'll see where my other 2 go, so I don't reveal what I had. But I had nothing specific. I didn't do deep stat dives. I'm looking at the top, looking at what you produced last year, what you bring back, and what you brought in the portal or what you lost. And that kind of helped me get my 5.
Nice. So something I learned as we were going through this, there is a shitload of quarterback experience in this conference heading into 2026, because that was one of the things that I looked at. I kind of, in my rankings, I gave you a bonus if your offensive coordinator was returning, just from a continuity standpoint. And then I give you a little bit of a bonus too if either your quarterback was returning or you brought in a transfer who had experience, Clinton. The only team in the Big Ten who
Wait,
did
I want to make it a question. I want to answer it.
so there's one team in the Big Ten who is either not returning their 2025 starting quarterback or did not dip into the transfer portal to bring in a purported starting quarterback. Can you name that team?
You said didn't bring in a transfer quarterback.
Correct.
It's
Or
Iowa.
does not, or yes, or does not have their starter returning. So going down the list, Illinois, Indiana, both brought in a transfer quarterback. Just going alphabetically, Nebraska brought in a transfer. Northwestern brought in a transfer. Penn State brought in a transfer. Rutgers brought in a transfer. Wisconsin brought in a transfer. Everyone else other than Iowa is returning their starting quarterback from last year. So there is a ton of experience in the Big Ten at the quarterback position.
Feels opposite of what we said last year, where we were kind of unsure of what we were going to get in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of those fun things. I mean, we did our quarterback rankings last week. I think one of the fascinating things to track this year is how accurate those end up being, because there's a lot of unknown with these new guys. There's some talented guys who are making the jump up from, the G6 level into the Big Ten. There's a couple of, I don't know if they're, I think Rocco Becht and Josh Hoover, I think, are the only two P4 to P4 transfers. Aiden Childs. I don't know if he counts. No
He's
offense.
staying within the same conference though.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah, but no offense, but he's not that good. Same. Well, Dylan Lonergan too, but also no offense. He's didn't have the best season last year. But kind of going through and what I was trying to figure out with these. So I looked at, first and foremost, I looked at returning production, and I utilized Bill Connolly's returning production rankings to determine where each of these teams ranked relative to everyone else in the country in the Big Ten in terms of their returning production on offense. I want to pull up real quick right now kind of the caveat he had in there just to kind of explain how this ranking is computed a little bit. So this is from his website. I think it's an ESPN Plus article if you have ESPN Plus. He says, I mash an incoming player. So this is talking about returning production from what you had on your roster last year, but also an incoming transfer as well. So he's counting incoming transfers in returning production. So he says, I mash an incoming player's production from his previous team into the numerator and denominator for his new team. Because the translation in moving from the lower levels of the sport to the FBS is extremely inconsistent, I only give half credit for players transferring up from lower divisions. So if your quarterback leaves and you bring in a transfer who is productive elsewhere, that dampens the blow of your quarterback leading. So how different positions factor into his ranking. So the percent of returning O-line snaps is 39.6% of the overall number. So if a team has a lot returning on the offensive line, that might skew the number a little bit higher. Percent of wide receiver, tight end receiving yards is 35% of his algorithm. Percent of returning quarterback passing yards is 22.3%, and percent of returning running back rushing yards is 3.1%. So if you have your running backs coming back, it doesn't impact you as much as like your offensive line or your receivers. So maybe a little bit of skewing with that on some of these numbers, but that's something that I looked at. And then I just kind of went through and looked at last year. Scoring offense, points per play, red zone scoring percent, yards per game, yards per play, rush yards per game, yards per rush, pass yards per game, yards per attempt, third down percentage, just so that way you're getting a little bit of the raw total numbers in there, but everyone's playing at a different pace. I like the per play stats as well, because one that looks at explosivity, but it also gives you a little bit better data if you have a team that's, mid 30s or 40s in total offense, but their yards per play is higher. That lets you know that, hey, maybe they're intentionally playing with a little less pace. So things that I was kind of looking for as I was going through that, if you finished in the top 25 of any of those last year, I gave you a point for that. If you finished in the hundreds in any of those statistics, I took away a point for that. I took away a point if you did not have your offensive coordinator returning. I gave you a point if you had your offensive coordinator returning. Maybe that was a mistake on my part now that I'm saying that out loud. I gave you 1 point if your quarterback was returning. I gave you half a point if your quarterback was a transfer, just to kind of factor in scheme difference with that a little bit. So it's not perfect. I made a couple, like when I did all the numbers out, I kind of looked at it and then I kind of went through and that's how I got my top five. And then I kind of mashed around that. And we talked about what my top five looked a little bit pre-show. If you listen to last week's show, something of this will look familiar, but I don't want to spoil anything.
All right. You want to go first or me?
Yeah. Do you want to go 1 to 5 or 5 to 1?
I always like 5 to 1.
Okay.
Or worst to first.
Cool. So number 4, I will start there. I have the Washington.
Number 4.
or number 5. Jesus Christ, sorry. Number 4, I skipped 5. Number 4, I have the Washington Huskies. They on my stupid scoring system, they actually ranked out 4th, but I made a couple of changes that will or adjustments that we'll talk about as we get into my number 4 team here. But they are one of the most experienced teams in the country, Clinton, in terms of returning production on offense. They are 12th nationally. They're returning 69% of their production last year. They were good across the board, not necessarily spectacular in any one thing. 24th in scoring offense. They were 19th in points per play, 14th in red zone scoring percent, tied for 25th in yards per play. Yards per passing attempt tied for 14th. They were 14th in third down percentage. So pretty efficient through the air. The running game was not super great, and we talked a little bit about this. Did we talk about it last week or 2 weeks ago? The run game is going to be an interesting thing to watch with Washington this year because Jonah Coleman is gone. Adam Mohammed is gone. It is going to be a lot of new in that backfield. Also, new out wide, Denzel Boston is gone too. So I had a little bit of qualms about putting them at 4, even though that's where my proprietary ranking system said they should be. Another interesting caveat here, Clinton, they don't have an offensive coordinator this year. Jimmy Doherty left.
No points for that.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. Weird because Jed Fish is an offensive guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Doherty left, I think, in February, and Jed Fish basically promoted himself. He said, I'm not hiring an offensive coordinator. I don't remember the guy's name. He hired someone who's like a senior offensive analyst to help with game planning.
Mm-hmm.
But Jed Fish is going to be the play caller this year. They do have the quarterback back. We talked a little bit about Damon Williams last week. I am looking for him to take a big step forward this year, even though he's not going to have as much help in the running game in theory. Maybe someone back there steps up. He's going to need someone outside of Roebuck to step up out wide as well. But with how efficient they were last year, plus the returning production, plus the returning quarterback, who I'm pretty high on, they come in at number 5 for me.
Do you know, off the top of your head, was Fish the primary play caller when Fafita had his big season at Arizona?
I think so.
I don't remember.
But I don't know.
Because that could spell really well for Damon Williams in his second year as a starter if Fish was the primary play caller or the OC for that team. So, all right.
Jed Fish has been a primary play caller for over 13 years across his coaching career. He has called plays at the University of Washington. He did call plays at Arizona when he was there.
Okay, good. So it could spell well. Now use Damon's legs, please. Number 5 for me. If they're tuning in tonight, I'm sure I'm going to get shit on. If not, I might as well cut the clip so they can shit on me anyways. You're still a top 5 offense for me in the Big Ten. Don't panic, fans. Indiana Hoosiers, number 5. 41.6 points per game in 2025. They led the Big Ten. They finished 3rd in the country in points per game. They also had 452 yards per game, which is 2nd in the Big Ten and 17th in the country. What did all that do? Well, it led to Indiana having the most miraculous season that Indiana's ever had and won a national championship. I still think that this team is top. They have some really big holes to fill. Mendoza's gone after winning the Heisman. Their top wideouts in Cooper and Surratt are gone. Top running backs, Black and Hemby, also gone. There's every reason in the world, Ryan, why this team should be less prolific on offense in 2026. Regardless of stats or record-wise, you can't be better than 16-0. You can't do any better. You won the Natty, you went undefeated. Yes, your stats might be better, but you can't outdo what you did last year. So, then we look at what they brought in. Hoover, Marsh, and Turbo Richard. Those transfers are going to have to fill a huge void with obviously the losses of the aforementioned players. And then what you're bringing back from last year who've been on Indiana is Kobe Martin. I wrote Kobe Martin, and Charlie Beck instead of Becker. Good Lord, what were you typing today?
Boy, oh
Becker
boy.
and Martin returned from the 2025 roster. Obviously look to be big players. Charlie Becker, proved to be a big-time player for them last year. 2 things going for this iteration of IU football. They return one of the best offensive lines in the Big Ten, anchored by All-American Carter Smith, and, they have Kurt Signetti. who's only 26-2 in Indiana with a natty and a whopping 78-11 overall as head coach.
Clinton, not just Signetti, but they also have Mike Shanahan back for a third season as offensive coordinator.
So at this point, guys, if you aren't trusting Sig and his staff to put out a stellar offense, then I don't know what to tell you. So that's why they're still top 5 for me. So if Indiana fans, you tune in or you watch the clip that I may cut to put out here, get to the end, because I still think your offense is going to be really freaking good to be top 5 in this conference after Ryan just said all the experience that we have in the Big Ten with quarterbacks. I just think you're going to be, at this point, on paper, a little less stellar offensively than what you were last year.
I want you to do your number 4 next because I want to go back to back with my 4 and 3 because I have a lot of comparison.
Perfect, because you already brought up my number 4.
Nice.
These guys were not in my quarterback rankings. It was in my honorable mention, but number 4, the Washington Huskies. Damon Williams gets his second year as a starter, and he's hopefully going to be given more opportunities with his legs this year, as we talked about. If you guys go back and tune into our Washington spring preview episode, in addition to our quarterbacks episode, as we talk a little more about that. And then you can expect a continued improvement with his arm and his pass game. Even with the running back being a question mark, as Ryan mentioned it, his number 5 team, the Huskies can lean on Williams' big playability, legs, and arm. See the Rutgers game in 2025 where he threw for 402 yards and ran for 136 and combined for 4 touchdowns. Yes, Denzel Boston's gone, but Desmond Roebuck is a monster and had a great freshman season for them. He is going to lead this wide receiver room. And then in further reading that I didn't get into because this happened in the most recent practices and the updates on, I believe it's Huskies Wire, if I remember correctly, written by Roman's cohort Lars Hansen. There are 2 new wide receivers, Ryan, making a stir in spring football for the Huskies, and that is Trez Davis and Jordan Clay. They are both freshmen. Jordan Clay himself has been running with the first team. So the Huskies are youthful at that position, but they are talented. And Roebuck showed you what a freshman can do last year. The other big key for me, and we talked about this again in the spring preview, is that the Huskies return 4 of their 5 starting offensive line. That is huge to protect your quarterback, who is now essentially a veteran quarterback. And I think that's going to generate a lot for this offense. And we've seen it time and time again. If you have an elite running back, that's fantastic. You see it in the NFL all the time, though. You don't need the best running back in the world. If your offensive line can run block, you're going to be able to run the ball. So I think Washington's going to find something with this running back room, especially once everybody gets healthy, that will make this offense a top 5 offense in the Big Ten for 2026. Go Hoosiers. Well, hopefully you tuned in, Redneck, to my compliment of your number 5 ranked Hoosiers.
Well, this one's for you because Clinton, number 4, number 3. Number 4, I have your Ohio State Buckeyes.
What?
Number 3,
Number
I have
4?
Number 3, I have the Indiana Hoosiers.
You scuzz.
So kind of going through this here, at this point in time, I like Julian Sayin more than Josh Hoover by a fair margin. Like, I don't think that's particularly close right now. But with
likes Nick Marsh more than Jeremiah Smith, apparently.
No. But with the way, and I'll kind of get into this in a minute, with the way that Indiana has developed the quarterback position with guys who have played the predominance of their college career elsewhere, I don't think we can sit here and scoff at whatever Josh Hoover's been at TCU. I think the expectation for him needs to be that he is going to take a big step forward this season. I do like Jeremiah Smith more than anyone in the country. At any position, really. But I think if we're like stacking these 2 wide receiver rooms together, Clinton, I think you can make a very serious argument that if you were to go kind of like list by list fantasy draft style with these, Jeremiah Smith's first off the board, but then I think Charlie Becker and Nick Marsh are the next 2 off the board, and I don't think it's particularly close to anyone else on the Ohio State roster. Now, we could be having this conversation in November, and Chris Henry Jr. can have a monster season. It's like, oh, he's actually one of the best receivers in America, but we can't definitively say that right now, right? You can't count on the 5-star freshman coming in and being a top playmaker in college football. That just does not happen often. It did with Jeremiah Smith, but again, he is a freak of nature, and maybe Chris Henry is too, but time will tell with that.
You also don't know what Kyle Parker and Devin McEwen will bring to Ohio State's receiver room. They bring a lot of speed, but what do they offer as far as production on the field to pair with Smith?
Yes. I'm also going to need to see a little bit more from Ohio State's running game until I am able to buy into that, Clinton, because it wasn't good last year. Like there's no two ways about it. You could say it got better as the season went along, but Clinton, they were 74th in the nation in yards per game on the ground last year. They were 57th in yards per rush. Like those are just not good numbers. Um, Maybe the running back room takes a step forward this year, and I think it does. Maybe the offensive line takes a step forward this year. I think it does. But you touch on the offensive line for Indiana. I think it's going to be one of the best in the country. I think IU has an advantage at the offensive line, and I think they have an advantage at offensive coordinator as well. Time will tell what Arthur Smith is, and everyone shit on Matt Patricia last year and said, "Wow, that was a stupid fucking hire." And they're doing the same thing with Arthur Smith, and maybe he proves everyone wrong, maybe he doesn't, but there's a big unknown with that. We know what we're going to get from an Indiana offense with Kurt Signetti and Mike Shanahan. And you want to talk about the running back room too, Clinton. Even though they're replacing Hemby and Black, we've seen them have a strong running game 2 years in a row now without really having an NFL back on the roster. Like Justice Ellison and Tyson Lawton had fantastic seasons in 2024. They didn't play NFL snap last year. They graduated, they moved on after having a fantastic year, and they got better. They pulled Roman Hemby off the fucking scrap heap from Maryland, and this dude had a 1,000-yard season. Are we sure the running game is going to take a step back this year?
Can you imagine how thrilled he was to be off that
Hell yeah.
forsaken roster when he went to Indiana,
Hell yeah.
and then
He's
also
like,
to win a
wow,
natty with it?
Wow, I have guys who can block for me now.
I can actually run.
Yeah. So I think the one thing that you can make a significant argument for Ohio State over Indiana here is the returning production, and you talked about that a little bit with Indiana. The lack of returning production. They're 69th in the country, returning 54% of their production from last season. And again, that's accounting for what Josh Hoover did at TCU, not at Indiana. Ohio State is 8th in the country, returning 71% of their production last year. So they were good on offense, and we kind of talked about this a little bit through the preseason. Their offensive numbers, just their counting stats, were a little bit muted from their pace, and they're bringing a lot of that offense back. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that it's going to take a step forward this year as long as they got the offensive coordinator hire right? That's a big question, though. If we're sitting here in November saying Ohio State has the best offense in the Big Ten, I would not be surprised. But with what we have seen from Kurt Signetti at Indiana, it's like you got to start giving them a pretty significant benefit of the doubt. I don't know that it's like Saban level Alabama quite yet, but everyone thought they were going to take a step back last year. They took a huge step forward. They're humming in the transfer portal. When you have that level of offensive line in place, it is going to be a huge boon for your team. They're replacing guys who are leaving with guys who might be just as good, right? Like they're losing Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt. I get Charlie Becker was on the roster last year, but Charlie Becker and Nick Marsh might be better NFL prospects than both of those guys. And Omar Cooper might be a first-round pick this year. I don't know if Josh Hoover is the same level as Fernando Mendoza. Time will tell with that. But that's kind of where I'm at with this. Like, it was a very close call, but I'm giving a slight edge to the coaching continuity that Indiana is bringing back, plus the offensive line. Plus, just even though the production wasn't there last year, they're bringing in guys from the portal who have played meaningful. Well, I guess you can make an argument that Nick Marsh hasn't really played meaningful snaps, but guys who have played significant snaps at the Power 4 level and have
good word
significant snaps and have produced at the Power 4 level.
I love the Marsh. The Marsh bring in through the portal. I think we were so excited with him his freshman year, and then Michigan State's just been so lackluster. So maybe Nick Marsh, he's not a running back, but it's this year's Roman Hemby for Indiana is like, thank God I'm off this effing team. I'm on to a team now with a coach who knows what the hell he's doing, who has a proven track record, and just won a national championship is going to get me the ball. So again, a lot of that becomes on Marsh too. Like he has to continue to work and continue to develop. I don't think you're going to be on a Kurt Signetti team if you're not going to have those characteristics, or you'll be on the team, you just won't play. So we'll see what Marsh can do as well. Caleb also mentioned Shaz Preston in his favorite guy, LeBron, in the wide receiver room as well. But I don't know if I see those two overtaking, at least right now on paper, Becker and Marsh. Number 3 for me, Ryan's all-time favorite team in the world, the USC Trojans. Last year, 465.5 yards per game, was 8th in the country, and they were 1st in the Big Ten. They were 5th in the country with 296 passing yards per game, 1st in the Big. This is the second full year as a starter at USC for Jaden Maeva, so we can only expect even more from him in a Lincoln Riley offense. I think Tanuk Hines is a very promising wide receiver. And again, Ryan had USC for our spring previews. I encourage you guys to go back and listen to that. They do lose Lemon and Lane, who will be off to the NFL draft. It sounds like Mekhi Lemon is looking like a first-round pick. So Tanuk Hines has some really big shoes to fill as far as leading this wide receiver room for the Trojans. But him and Maeva have been together all off season, plus last year. They have built chemistry. Look for Hines to be a very prominent name in this offense. The other key factor of to why I have them number 3, we talk about returning production. They return their top 2 running backs, Ryan, from 2025, in Wayman Jordan and King Miller, who combined for 1,548 yards and 13 TDs. And that's with, I believe, Wayman Jordan hurt for part of the season, correct?
He played 6 games.
Imagine what those stats would have been if he played. Now, again, King Miller may not have got the run he got, but they have a nice duo of running backs in the Big Ten. The team we just mentioned, Washington, we don't know what the hell they're doing at running back. And Indiana, they have Martin, but Martin's never had the full load yet, and nor has Turbo. He's coming from the ACC with Boston College, so we were yet to see how he translates to the Big Ten.
That wasn't a good Boston College team.
Yeah, and Wayman Jordan showed what he could do right away last year until he got hurt, and then King Miller came in and did a really nice job filling in for him. So if I'm looking at running back duos in the Big Ten, they certainly got to be in the top 5 as well, so that helps boost them. The other big factor, quick thing, I expect this duo to push for about 2,000 yards together this year, Ryan, and 20 TDs for 2026.
I agree.
The Trojans, though, the key thing for me, outside of Maeva, is they return all 5 starting offensive linemen from 2025. You want to talk about continuity? You have it up front to protect your quarterback and to help your run game. Adding to the fact they have Kenyi Pepe fighting to earn a starting spot. He is a 2026 5-star freshman offensive lineman fighting to get in a mix of a team that brought back all 5 starting offensive line. So what that tells me is USC has 5+1, which means they might have a swing tackle usability here. Maybe this guy eclipses him and he starts right away. He must be pretty damn good if he's going to eclipse starters who started all the games last year. So there's 2 things you can count on with a Lincoln Riley-led team. He's going to have a really good offense and a team that can't tackle. So we'll get to the defense portion next week. Maybe we'll do the bottom 5 defenses in the Big Ten. But as far as offense, they're going to be up stats. They're going to be tough to beat. And their experience on the offense, man. I really like what this Trojan team has. Again, Lincoln Riley has to get through this half-glass full opportunity and looking at games like, whoa, if we'd done this and that. You actually have to do it now. You've got to prove it. You've got to do something at USC in the Big Ten. I don't give a shit what you did in the Pac-12. That conference doesn't exist anymore. You have to prove something to me, and there's nothing better because Maeva started at his previous stop. He's got 3.5 years essentially as a starter now, or 3.25. Do something, Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. I'm assuming that we have, or I'm assuming I know what your top 2 are. I think it's fascinating that we had the same 5 teams, just kind of out of
different
order.
orders. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'll obviously have my reasons why I have 1 and 2, and I feel like I'm pretty safe with those, but I'm eager to see who your number 2 is.
So number 2, I went Oregon. Number 1, I went USC. So
okay.
Yeah. So when I was going through these, I was if you fit just to kind of help my vision, I'm more of a I need like visual cues to process things. I was like any stat you were in the top 25, I was highlighting green. Any stat you were in the bottom, like 100th or worse, I was highlighting red. I highlighted it green if your offensive coordinator is returning. I highlighted it green if your quarterback's returning. So I had like 14 things listed here. Clinton, I highlighted green for USC on 13 of them. They were really good on offense last year. So they're 22nd in the country in returning production compared to Oregon is 26. So pretty comparable on those. But just going down the list here for USC, they were 12th in scoring offense last year. They were 5th in points per play, 22nd in red zone scoring, 6th in yards per game, 4th in yards per play, 44th in rush yards per game. That was the only thing that I didn't have highlighted green. But they were tied for 15th in yards per rush, 5th in yards per game, tied for 6th in passing or 5th in passing yards per game, 6th in passing yards per attempt, 3rd in third down conversions. Like this was a really good offense last year. And you kind of just hit on it, and we talked about this a little bit with the quarterbacks last week, maybe a little bit. The big question is who's going to step up at wide receiver. But when you're looking at like Lincoln Riley as a head coach, I feel like if we're going to give someone the offensive benefit of the doubt and give someone the benefit of the doubt that he's going to find a playmaker, wide receiver is going to be Lincoln Riley. Like if you're going to give him the benefit of the doubt on anything, it's going to be that. Even with USC replacing Lane and Lemon, I love everything else that they bring back. I love that they have the experience at quarterback. I love what they have at running back. I love what they have on the offensive line. I really like Oregon's backfield and receivers. But I did ding Oregon a little bit for them having to replace Will Stein. I like the continuity in theory, right? But whenever you have a new play caller, you're never really sure how the feel for the game is going to go. I mean, the overall returning production's relatively similar. I think it just kind of depends on what your flavor of offense is. USC's a little bit more prolific through the air, Oregon a little bit more prolific on the ground. But I mean, otherwise they stack up very favorably. I mean, we talked about it last week. I think Oregon has the advantage at quarterback, but I mean, running back, probably USC offensive line, maybe USC. I think that might be a little bit of a toss-up. Receiver right now, I'd give the slight edge to Oregon.
I don't know about running back, man. Oregon's running backs were nasty. Those
They're
young
good.
boys last year.
They were really good, and I think that there is logic in saying that now that they've kind of thinned that room out a little bit, that we're really going to get to see what Dier Hill and Jordan Davidson can do as more prominent role featured guys in the offense. But the way that they rotated last year just kind of gave me the ick a little bit. It felt like, I don't know if it was just they were trying to spread the load to keep everyone happy, or they just weren't sure who was good. And that, I don't know, that indecision gave me a little bit of the ick. Whereas with Waymon Jordan, he was pretty much the guy from USC until he got hurt. And then King Miller, like they had two guys who would have, Waymon Jordan would have hit 1,000 yards if he was healthy last year. King Miller did at 1,000 yards. Like they are real, like we've seen them produce in situations where they needed to produce, right? So now the key for Oregon's backs is, can they take a step forward now that they are going to be counted on to be a little bit more of the bell cows because they don't have 16 guys that they're trying to get the ball to. Even though Oregon does have a little bit more experience in theory coming back in the receiver room, right? Like Evan Stewart's coming off a pretty significant injury. We don't know what he's going to look like, if he's going to have that same level of explosiveness now a year removed from tearing his patellar tendon. That's a big power producing, the quads are a big power producing muscle, and the connective apparatus to make sure that that muscle can function was torn and repaired. We have to see how his explosiveness is coming off of that. You know, DeCorian Moore had some injury concerns last year. He's a really explosive player. If he puts on a little bit of muscle and can withstand the physicality of the Big Ten a little bit more, that's a guy who can have a big breakout year this year. But there's still, I think, enough questions in the receiver room for Oregon that maybe have a little bit of positive. It's not a huge question, right? I think they're the second best offense in the Big Ten, and I think it's close, right? Like this was kind of a coin flip for me, but I'm giving the slight edge to Lincoln Riley. I'm being deferential to him as an offensive coach. The defensive side of the ball is a completely different question, but a little bit deferential to him with the continuity of him being the play caller versus Oregon having a new play caller, and just seeing how Drew Maringer is as the season goes along. Again, talking about any of these top four, like if I think there's a little bit of a gap between, for me, Washington at 5 and then Indiana at 4, or Ohio State at 4, Indiana at 3. Then I think Oregon and USC are just like a step above those two. But if you told me any of those four finished as the best offense statistically in the Big Ten, I would not be surprised.
The other thing that bodes well and benefits for USC this year: Oregon, home; Washington, home; Ohio State, home; at Penn State.
They're losing that game.
Indiana.
Every time anytime you mention USC traveling east on this podcast, I'm just going to say they're going to lose that game.
Yeah, but I mean, of your biggest games, you get 3 of the 5 at home. That's huge, man. You got to make Ohio State travel. You got to, Washington and Oregon don't really, but you're used to it. You know, Indiana, that's November 14th, so we're really going to know what both those teams are. But you get a bye week before Indiana. After Ohio State, you don't have to have a physical game and then turn around and go play Indiana for another physical game. You get a bye week before Indiana. Will you beat them? I don't know. But if the offense is as good as we say they are, they're going to give Indiana a game. And then, of course, we'll see what at UCLA does at the end of the year. But getting 3 of your biggest 5 at home will certainly help to continue to boost that offense moving forward. Number 2 for me, the Oregon Ducks. They finished 16th in the country in 2025 with 452.2 yards per game, 11th at 36.9 points per game. Obviously, we've already said this multiple times, but Dante Moore returning is massive for the Ducks' offensive potential. Losing Will Stein is huge, but we've seen it. I would expect the Ducks' offense to look pretty similar with some, different wrinkles here or there. Added in the fact, again, I already talked about it, they returned their 2 stud running backs, freshman running backs from 2025 who will now lead the room in 26. And Ryan mentioned there's some clarity there now. We started last year hooting and hollering and hyping Hughes from Tulsa and how big of a factor he was going to be. And dude didn't even do anything. Ask Ryan. He took him in the first round of the fantasy college draft.
Yep. Big regrets.
Both Davison and Hill Jr. combined for 1,323 yards, Ryan, while rushing for 20 TDs. Davison was a monster with 15 rushing touchdowns last year. That is huge to bring in. De'Corian Moore, Ryan mentioned it, a little bit dinged up last year. Sometimes that happens for freshmen, especially if they don't have a lot of size. But he has elite speed and game-changing ability to then pair that with, hopefully, healthy Evan Stewart. And then Jeremiah McClellan returns as well. But don't forget about they have likely the number 1 tight end in the conference in Jamari Johnson, who finished, even with Kenyon Sadiq, Ryan, he finished 4th on the team with 510 yards last year. That is impressive given that Sadiq is being vaunted as the number 1 tight end in 2026's NFL draft, and some are saying likely in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
My question mark, and I feel like we talked about this with the hell the past 2 years, my question mark is the offensive line. They have to replace 3 starters who will be taken in the 2026 NFL draft. So maybe I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here, Oregon, because I feel like your O-line has been fine the past 2 years. I believe last year they were a finalist for the Joe Moore Award, even though with what they brought in, had to replace in the portal. But the Ducks just have the skill set of players all around. This offense is going to be extremely hard to slow down. Now, Ryan already mentioned his number 1 is the USC Trojans. Here comes the Homer boy. Ohio State is my number 1.
Boo.
They finished 20.
I'm going to shit on your Columbus parade real quick. The Blue Jackets have officially been eliminated from the playoffs.
That's fine. They were eliminated last night when they couldn't figure out how to beat the Bruins. They eliminated themselves, and they went on a 7-game losing streak.
To be fair, that run that they went on, they shouldn't even have been in the race. But anyway, Philly went to overtime, so yeah.
So now we're just waiting because the Columbus Aviators aren't doing too hot either in the UFL. So we're just waiting for football season here in Columbus.
Is Ohio a terrible pro sports state? Are the Cavs good? I don't know. I don't watch basketball.
Cavs are
Cavs good.
Cavs are the 4 seed. They've been banged up all year and still pulled a 4 seed. I would say Cavs are likely, barring injury. They're fully healthy now. Probably going to the Eastern Conference Finals this year, especially given their path. So, yes, the Cavs are good. The Guardians are one of the best teams in baseball right now.
Clinton, you know how that's going to go. They're going to get fucking shit on in the ALCS like they do every year.
Well, you know what? They do more with less, okay? They have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball, and
You're
somehow
right. And then they
still
get
make the playoffs every year.
Then they get a good player, and they immediately trade him.
Yeah, or they can't pay him when his time comes due. Anyways, we're waiting on football season in Central Ohio because apparently the Columbus Crew suck too. Sorry, Adam, if you listen to this one. Ohio State last year, 21st in the country, 33.4 points per game, 26th in the country with 422.6 yards per game. You know why I find that impressive, Ryan? Because of how slow of a pace Ohio State ran last year, and they still finished in the top, essentially 25 in the country for both of those things.
Well, Clinton, that's what happens when you play 10 preseason games between the only 2 games of consequence on your regular season schedule.
We barely saw them go up tempo in 2025. Felt like the offense lost their explosive plays that we saw in the 2024 Natty team have. And, of course, that's when Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins aren't walking through the door. That will happen. And then you start a freshman quarterback. The Buckeyes, again, were extremely protective, slow playing, saying at times in 2025. We saw that against Texas. We saw it against Washington. We saw it multiple times. They did not just let him sit back there and sling it. He comes back for year 2, had a great year 1, leading the country and setting a completion percentage record. So he is no slouch. Must be better in the bigger games with pressure in his face, and he has added 10 pounds this offseason. in order to prepare his body for more contact, as he is going to be, as Ryan Day says, he's going to be taking more of those options to run this year. He's not going to be Justin Fields, for those of you who follow Ohio State or the Big Ten, but he needs to be able to take 5 yards, 10 yards here and there to extend drives. Add to this, you already talked about it, they have an offensive line with a lot of experience. 4 of the 5 true starters return. Taker Shabola is now with Will Stein at Kentucky. Good luck to that quarterback and running back. But Ohio State also has a fair amount of
Kenny
guys that have,
Minchie.
have these guys with good experience and playing time on the offensive line that they're essentially, you might as well say they're returning 5 starter level guys. You mentioned the running backs leading the 2025 rushing for Ohio State were Bo Jackson and Isaiah West. I know Peoples and Donaldson technically outproduced West, but the future is Jackson and West. They're going to lead the backfield for 2026. They are not healthy enough for contact guys as far as to be panicked, but as Coach Carlos Loughlin said, why do they need to be beat on in spring anyways, especially Bo Jackson when he just took a full load as a freshman? And I haven't even mentioned yet the number one key factor on this offense being Jeremiah Smith, back for his 3rd and final season with Ohio State. Expect a big season from Smith, man. He leads this wide receiver room. He is only 341 yards, 43 receptions, and 9 touchdowns away from being Ohio State's all-time leader in all 3 of those categories, Ryan. That is very impressive, even for an alien. Ryan Day, again, has proven that a veteran play caller, offensive mind. He has the proven veteran play caller and offensive mind in Arthur Smith, who's going to bring some new ideas, but be a coordinator that Day can fully trust. And I think that helps a ton comparative to Hartline. I'm not saying Day didn't trust Hartline, but Smith is done it before. He's very experienced. He's experienced at the highest level. Ohio State may not lead the Big Ten this year in all the offensive categories, but I expect this team to put up a lot of points and move the ball on any and all opponents. I think they're still going to get those 2 tight end, 3 tight end looks out there, but I think their pace of play and explosive ability starts to come back this year, and I think this team is going to be the number 1 offense in the Big Ten overall. Again, not USC might go throw 500 yards a game on offense, but I think overall Ohio State will finish as the best offense in the Big Ten.
Well, if they do, they certainly would have earned it this year.
You got a stellar schedule, man. It's going to be a hell of a lot more entertaining. No children of the poor schedule this year. They will earn, I won't say what I think they're going to finish with because I'm sure we'll do a records prediction, but they will earn their wins and losses this year. All right, Ryan. Sorry, I took a bite of ice and realized I need to mute to swallow that.
Thank you for not.
I got a couple follow-ups for you here. Number 1. Which offense do you expect to finish last in the Big Ten for 2026?
Oh, boy.
Ryan?
This is hard because
you want to throw out Purdue, but,
Well, yeah. I think, honestly, I think it might be Michigan State.
Okay. Why is that?
I am not a fan of the Nick Sheridan hire. I feel like we've talked about this before, but the Alabama offense got a little bit better when Ryan Grubb came back in and took play calling duties away last year. I don't know that the quarterback is necessarily the answer. I like the Cam Edwards from UConn. I think that has the potential to be a really good ad. I don't know what they have at wide receiver, and they weren't particularly great last year. You look at you look at the other contenders here, right? Like if I'm looking at like my ranking, like the things that I pulled up here, like Wisconsin was ass in just about everything last year. They were not very good, but they brought in a potentially exciting quarterback who I think can take them from god awful to mediocre, right? Like I don't think they're going to be setting any records or anything, but I think they'll be a competent offense after being like in the 100s with everything last year. Like we talked about, USC was green for everything for me. Wisconsin was red for everything for me. You know who else was red for everything, almost everything for me too, Clinton? Minnesota. Minnesota was god awful on offense last year. They were offensively bad, 116th in scoring, tied for 100th in points per play. 33rd in red zone scoring, so good for them on that. But 132nd in yards per game, 125th yards per play, 130th in rush yards per game, 121st in yards per rush, 103rd in pass yards per game, 125th in pass yards per attempt. But Clinton, they are 10th in the country in offensive returning production. So even though they weren't very good last year, they are bringing back a lot of experience. Drake Lindsey should take a step forward. Hopefully Darius Taylor stays healthy. In a lot of this, why they were so bad on offense last year is because the running back room just was not healthy. If the running back room stays healthy, they're going to take a step forward this year. You know, Northwestern, I think, is a contender for this too, but you bring in Chip Kelly, which I think has the potential to revolutionize that offense. Well, maybe revolutionize isn't the right word there, but you have the potential to have at least concepts of a good offense there. And I think he's good enough from a scheme standpoint to paper over any shortcomings in Aiden Child's game. And maybe that is relying on him as more of a runner like he did with DTR back in the UCLA days. Not to say that Aiden Childs is going to have a DTR type season, but, you know, maybe like diet DTR, I guess.
Diet DTR.
But, like, I mean, you know, I think you can make an argument for Purdue as well, but I still like Barry Odom as a coach. I think that can work. And I'm just, like, this is kind of going into, I'm not super jazzed about the Pat Fitzgerald hire, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think there's a lot more questions that I have about the Michigan State offense than I do pretty much everyone else in the Big Ten.
I voted for Wisconsin. Too much reliance on the portal could lead to an implosion on their offense, even if Colton Joseph is able to survive the Badgers' Final Destination quarterback movie. I'm hopeful that they're better, but every ounce of me wanted to say Purdue, and I'm just like, you know what? Wisconsin, to me, has a lot.
We'll see. Prove. I think in a vacuum, I agree with that. But the reason Wisconsin has been so bad on offense the entire Luke Fickell era is because they have been playing a backup quarterback for the entire Luke Fickell era. If you get quarterback health, I think we are going
running back in Sama.
We are going, I think, to see something we have not seen from Wisconsin in 5 years. Again, that's not me saying it's going to be fantastic by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it could be competent.
Yep.
It could be a step forward. It could, but you're also right. Like, Colton Joseph is a running quarterback. Those guys are more prone to injuries. They are playing Notre Dame in week 1. He could get his ass kicked in the first game and get injured. It would not surprise me at all.
Where's he making the transition from? The
G6.
G5,
Yep.
G6 to the P4.
Yep.
We know it takes time. And he's got a big game 1 already. It's not like he's got 3 cupcakes to start with.
That's for sure.
Somebody has to buck the trend at some point. There's going to be a G6 guy who walks in and just tears it up, and maybe it's him. So maybe they knock off Notre Dame week 1, and Ryan has Irish tears already to yell about in this show.
I think if that happened, I just would not watch the rest of the football season.
All right, last question of the night. Of our non-top 5, Ryan, which offense, or you can say it multiple if you want, I kept it to 1, which offense are you most intrigued by heading into 2026 within the Big Ten?
I think it's unquestionably Michigan.
Okay, nice.
They are 6th in the nation in returning production on offense, and that's even with Justice Haynes going to Georgia Tech. They were really good at running the football last year. They were tied for 5th in the country in yards per rush. They were 11th in the country in yards per game on the ground. They are bringing back Jordan Marshall. They're bringing in Savion Hyder. He should be a day 1 contributor. Offensive line should still be pretty good last year. Clinton, even though the passing game wasn't particularly good last year, they were still tied for 25th in the country in yards per play, which is good considering how bad the pass game was. And that is 104th in the nation in yards per game. 186.8. But as we have talked about on this show, they are bringing in a real coaching staff, a serious offensive coaching staff. They have a quarterback coach for their phenom quarterback. He should take a step forward this year. They should be a little better at the receiver position. I don't know how much better they will be, but if we're just looking at who in this conference has the material to take a massive step forward, I think the pieces are in place for Michigan. It would require a lot to go right? Like, this is not me saying, like, Michigan is definitely going to break out and be a top 25 offense in the country this year. But I think that if we are looking for that team that has the pieces in place to potentially come out of nowhere to make some noise, I think it's them, or but like you could even make an argument for UCLA too. And I wonder if that's where your head's kind of at with this, with Nico kind of being in place, with what Bob Chesney has done at Holy Cross and James Madison with running quarterbacks. He's also bringing his James Madison offensive coordinator Dean Kennedy with him. They're bringing their running back with them. I think that is an exciting offense as well. I don't know what they have at the receiver position that makes you think like, ooh, they're going to take a big step forward this year. But at least Michigan has the go-to receiver in addition to already kind of a bell cow running back, in addition to a returning starting quarterback who maybe he wasn't good last year, but he certainly has the tools that if he gets proper coaching, he could take a big step forward. You should probably mute that mic though,
My
bud.
answer is not UCLA, actually. My answer is Northwestern.
Ooh!
I'm intrigued because of just the pairing of Chip Kelly and Aiden Childs. And I feel like if there's anyone that can get the best out of Childs, it could be Chip Kelly. You already talked about he could be Diet DTR. Maybe DTR 0.
We need to make that a thing. That's I don't mean it to be disrespectful, but I would very much like to make that a thing.
Well, he's also probably a little smaller in DTR too. So in theory, maybe he's DTR on a diet. The key to this is the offensive line, man. And Northwestern's usually pretty solid up front. New offensive line coach Tim Drevno brings 33 years. Count it, 33. He's been coaching for as long as I've been alive. 33 years of coaching experience, mainly in college, but he does have a 3-year NFL stint. He has led 6 offensive linemen, Ryan, to be selected in the first round of the NFL draft. 5 of those coming in the last 6 years. Guess what Aiden Childs never had at Michigan State? An offensive line to protect him. He's
True.
probably going to get that at Northwestern. The other piece that I love with this Northwestern offense, and Chip Kelly showed it to you the last time he was in good old Columbus, of how he uses running backs. Running back is deep for the Northwestern Wildcats, led by Caleb Koma-Lafe. And then you have the wide receiver room, who's led by Griffin Wilde. So Childs will have someone to throw the rock to and to hand the rock to, in addition to an upgraded offensive line. This is the best talent, I would argue, that Childs has been surrounded by yet, and his best offensive coordinator, and he gets it in his 3rd year. Technically 4th year, 3rd year starter. Should be a fun offense to watch. They're going to go to Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State. They host Penn State, Iowa, Illinois, and they will also go to Minnesota, who tends to play good defense. That will be no walk in the park. Childs will have his work cut out for him, but part of the, not only just the additions, but where they go in the schedule is what makes this offense intriguing for me.
I think that's a great answer. I think that's a great answer.
But I agree with you on UCLA. I think that's a viable option. I think Michigan certainly is.
I mean, realistically, with everything returning at the quarterback position in this conference, I think you can make an argument for any one of these teams.
So you can argue freaking Nebraska, no Dylan Raiola.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Illinois,
Calandria.
Hauser.
Mm-hmm.
Like Penn State, Rocco Becht.
The Penn State Cyclones, yep.
Yeah, I mean, your everything is gone, and how dishonorable for me. Yeah, there we go. Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton. I couldn't remember Katron Allen's name. Your guys that you leaned on for the past 2 years are gone. Your veteran starter and Drew Aller gone. But this is really interesting to see, as Ryan called them, the Penn State Cyclones. Maybe they're the Diet Iowa State. I don't know.
I would hope that they're not.
Diet DTR just rolls off the tongue so much better.
That's disrespectful. Before we leave, I wanted to shout out Robert Grant on YouTube. He commented on one of our videos. He said, the audio sounds like an NPR broadcast. I'm like, oh, that was a very nice compliment. I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And then he said, bad. I don't know what that means.
Thank you for the engagement, Robert. We will be back next Monday. You can tune in there as well.
Yeah, is that a bad thing? I feel like NPR's got some good audio quality. I don't listen to NPR, but
I haven't listened to NPR since PT school.
Is that a comment on our voices? Are we too monotone? I'm definitely
Maybe it's just
monotone.
you.
I'm definitely monotone. Ryan Burns has told me, he's more or less has told me.
He said
that.
he could use you to put himself to sleep.
I don't know how to unchange my voice. This is just who I am.
He's 34 years old, folks. He can't change.
Yeah, I'm not.
The man
not
is
too
almost
high.
halfway to 70.
I'm not too high. I'm not too low. I'm very steady Eddie with my voice. When I do get excited, it's like very pitchy, and I think I'm too close to the microphone, and it just kind of
it's like a giddy little girl.
Yeah, you can.
Listen,
Yeah, I
folks,
don't know.
you hear me on this podcast, and maybe you can surmise this. Clinton is the loud person of this podcast, I will tell you. I am very loud in person. Ask my coworkers in the PT clinic. There's not many places you can go around me that you can't hear me when I decide to talk. So it's probably great that we have someone who's a little more monotone and controlled voice level to someone who is extremely loud 95% of the time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Usually, if I'm quiet, I'm pissed or I'm sick. So that's about all I got.
Yeah,
Or a
good
patient
enough.
pisses me off.
Anyway, if you're still listening, and you have comments about our audio quality, hit us up on Twitter at ITPCFB.
And leave us a 5-star review while you're at it.
Well, unless you don't like the audio quality, then tell me why the audio quality is bad, and maybe I'll try to fucking fix it. I don't know, man. The few times I don't listen to the show after the fact, but the few times I do listen to it,
it sounds fine to me.
Yeah, I don't have any qualms. I don't know, man.
I think somebody,
Do you
it's
want-
okay.
Do you want more
Haters gonna
background
hate.
noise? Is it too quiet? Do you want
Listen,
more background noise?
We got more sounds coming back. It's kind of hard to integrate too many sounds right now when there's not a whole lot of live juice going on from games. We will have sounds back, and we will have some games back this fall for you. In addition, you don't want it to sound like an NPR broadcast. Tune in. You might get a crying baby during the show. Who knows?
There you go. I will not provide any additional sound effects from my neck of the woods. It's
Maybe
pretty
Lucy will
quiet
bark.
down. She's not a barker unless someone knocks on. If someone's knocking on my door at 9:00 at night, they're getting met with a fucking chef's knife. Don't knock on my door at 9:00 at night. Don't knock on my door. Period. I need to get one of those signs that's like, I've seen them on the Amazon. It's like, I've already found God. I'm not interested in buying anything, and I already know my political leanings. Please don't knock on my door because I'm not interested.
That's fair. That's fair.
Unless you're selling Girl Scout cookies, then you can knock. But anything else, like, no, don't. I don't want my windows cleaned. I don't need my gutters cleaned. If I need those cleaned, I will find you. Please do not come to my door and ask.
That's fair. So next week, I think, barring we can figure out how exactly we want to do this, so we need to be engaging outside of this to help get ready for this, is we don't have a draft guy coming on this year for the NFL draft. I love my guy, draft guy Jared. He is no longer doing his routine, guys. So Ryan and I are planning for next Monday to be where we do some type of draft of Big Ten offensive position groups along with special teams units and a defense. The thing and caveat I want with that is teams need to go into tiers, and then we're going to have to make sure you at least have one group from the bottom tier. Maybe we'll end up breaking down by position groups on the defense as well. Those are the things we're going to work out. If we need more time to figure this out, a la 2 weeks, we will just move to our top 5 defenses in the Big Ten for next Monday and give ourselves 2 weeks to prepare. And we will do the draft after the draft wraps up on Sunday for Monday's episode.
Wait, is the
2
draft
weeks.
next week?
It is next Thursday.
Oh, shit. Cool. Didn't know that. I just learned that now.
Yep.
I've
It's
been living
exciting.
under a
I
rock,
can't wait,
apparently.
man. I'm pumped. I'm going to have pizza, wings, hang out at my brother-in-law's on Thursday night and watch a little bit of the draft.
There you go. I will
And watch my Bengals probably disappoint me. So
I will not be doing that. Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. Let us know about the audio. If it's too quiet or whatever, I don't care. I'm just curious to hear thoughts now. That's all I'm going to think about. I completely forgot about that comment, too. I'm like,
guy's going to
we're
lose
cl-
sleep over this.
we were
tonight.
we were closing out. I'm like, wait a minute, what if that guy ever responded? He's like, bad. I'm like, fuck. Yeah, I actually might lose sleep over it. Anyway,
I will not.
let us know. How can we make it better? Is it good? Is it bad? Anyway, thank you. We'll see you next week.